And now, part two of Life and Limb.
Michael rose from the patio chair beside the rustic stone home as Amelia brought her car to a stop in the driveway. She stepped out and closed the door, her brow furrowed. Michael, what brings you out to Colchi territory? Just visiting my sister and enjoying the country air. Uh-huh. Is something the matter? Of course not. Why do you always think that? I wonder. Amelia shot him a sidelong glance as she opened the trunk of her car. Well, I just popped out to Tesco for a few groceries. Do you need help? I have two hands. Oh, funny bird. But you could get the door. Once Amelia was inside, Michael retrieved the white box from his car and carried it into her dining room. He set it on the table as Amelia stepped in from the kitchen. Would you like to stay for supper? That'd be nice if it isn't too much trouble, of course. She pointed to the box. Is that what I think it is? Open it. Amelia stepped forward and pulled off the lid. Her eyes flashed wide. Oh my, you cleaned it up. It looks like pure silver. 'Tis. Amelia narrowed her eyes as she stared at it. The arm of Nuada. What? Well, I still haven't any leads on where this came from, but now that I see it like this, I'm reminded of a story from myth. Right, well, what I need is Nuada was a king of the Tuatha De Danann. He lost his arm during a battle 4,000 years ago. His physician, Dion Kecht, fashioned a prosthetic arm out of silver. Michael tuned her out as he checked his watch. He waited for a pause in her blathering. That's a lovely tale, Mealy, and I know mythology is one of your hobbies, but I need you to do me a favor here in the real world. I need you to put the arm on. Why? Call it an experiment. Does it need to be right now? I'm about to make supper. This is important. Well, how long do I need to wear it? Good question. Michael gazed at the ceiling as he recalled the corporal's visit. He was in the conference room for 20 minutes before I got there, then another 5. He met Amelia's questioning gaze. I'd say about 25 minutes should do it. You cannot be serious. Please. Amelia glared at him, shaking her head. I don't know why I always agree to be your lab rat. Michael sat across the dining room table from his sister. She sighed loudly while scrolling through email on her tablet computer. Ignoring her mounting irritation, Michael gazed through the window. The climate in the room was nearly as threatening as the weather outside. Beyond Letterfrack Village, the choppy waters of Ballinakil Harbor reflected the dark, roiling clouds hanging low in the evening sky. Amelia slapped the cover closed on her tablet and glared at Michael. He downed the rest of his drink. Do you feel anything in your arm? No, should I? I don't know. Michael, what's this all about? I don't know. What the hell do you know? Wait, I am feeling something. Michael sat bolt upright. What? I feel like an idiot wearing this damn thing. His shoulders slumped. Just another 10 minutes, please. Oh, I almost forgot. I need you to look at something. He reached into the white box and retrieved a covered petri dish. The socket of that prosthetic is lined with some kind of paste. Surprisingly, it held together under hot water, but it softened enough for me to take a scraping. I think it may be the grinds of a plant. He slid the dish across the table. Amelia peered at the sample. Hard to say for sure. Some plants, like comfrey, and a few others, were once used as a poultice to help heal everything from skin irritation to broken bones. I could take it to work and run it against our database. That would be fantastic, thanks. Would you mind if I crash in your spare room overnight? Amelia raised an eyebrow. I suppose if I ask why, you'll tell me you don't know. I'll know in the morning, and if all goes well, so will you. Michael jolted as an obnoxious buzzing erupted behind him. Frowning, he stood up from the microscope and turned to find his sister leaning against the workbench in the center of the lab. She stared down at her myoelectric hand as it continuously rotated 360 degrees, making a loud grinding noise in the process. Amelia, I had no idea you were here. Can you fix this? I can't control it. Michael opened his mouth to reply, but before a word was uttered, Amelia's prosthetic arm shot forward, its malfunctioning hand clutching his throat. Give me my arm back, Michael. Michael? He opened his eyes to find Amelia standing over him, her left hand shaking his shoulder. Michael? With a scream, he recoiled and swatted her arm away before tumbling off the opposite side of the bed. Oh my God, are you all right? Michael reached up to the windowsill and pulled himself to a sitting position on the floor. He leaned his head against the wall. I'm fine, just a recurring nightmare. Do you want to tell me about it? Not really. Well, I have something to show you. She thrust out her bare right arm. Look! Michael rubbed his eyes, still trying to shake off the dream. What? My arm's grown, can't you tell? I just fell out of bed, Mealy. Give me a moment. Did you measure it? 7 centimeters. Just like Duncan. You were expecting this, weren't you? Michael nodded. What does it mean? It means that trinket you picked up at an antique show may represent the most remarkable biological advancement in human history. How's that possible? Well, we know that humans can regenerate severed fingertips, but even that takes months. I've been doing some research. There's a protein that passes electrical signals from outside of a cell through its surface to receptors inside. It's called the Wnt signaling pathway. Without getting too technical, researchers have found that stimulating this communication can regenerate bone and tissue in mice and salamanders. You think this antique prosthetic is somehow stimulating these proteins? All I know is that it emits an EMF for reasons I can't explain, nor can I answer your question without further testing. Now I have a medical bag in my car. If I may, I'd like to take a blood sample from that arm as soon as I get some coffee. On his way out, Michael asked Amelia to say nothing of this development for now. But keep me abreast of any further changes and let me know what you find on that substance. Michael, what if, and I'm not getting my hopes up here, but what if by some miracle my arm completely regenerates? Well, then you can give me a proper applause when I win the Nobel Prize. After a sleepless Sunday night, Michael still had no answers, only more questions. Thus, when dawn arrived on Monday morning, he was not at all surprised to receive a call from Corporal McCabe. Any progress, Doctor? Well, Duncan, I always believed in the value of play. As it turns out, that antique you were toying around with in my office is the key to what's happening. How so? I'm not sure yet. I've only determined the effect, not the cause. Then what makes you think it's the antique? I tested it on someone else, and they experienced the same results. Duncan was silent for a moment. Perhaps he was confused, even stunned. Michael sympathized. I can't delay any longer, Doctor. I need to report this. My superiors will likely send at least one person, if not an entire team, to study that object. Michael drew in a slow, deep breath. I gathered as much. Just be prepared. They'll probably take possession of it. I'll need to get past my sister first. Colette was clearly nervous when Michael arrived at the office. In the conference room, two men sat with their backs to the hallway windows. One of them was military. Who's that? You're 7 o'clock. I didn't know I had a 7 o'clock. You didn't until 10 minutes ago. Well, they waste no time. That figures. Thanks, Colette. He made his way into the conference room and closed the door. The visitors stood. The man in uniform, short and stocky with thinning black hair, introduced himself as Lieutenant Colonel Quinlan Kilduff. Dr. Whelan, this is Dr. Dion Katz, a biologist from Merlin Park University Hospital. He's here to observe your work with the artifact. With his saffron hair, full beard, and crystal blue eyes, Katz was the stereotypical fair-skinned Irishman straight off a postcard. He was also the tallest of the three men. What happened to Corporal McCabe? The corporal's under observation, Kilduff replied. What about his arm? Also under observation. Of course. Ask a stupid question. Have you determined the artifact's method for this rapid regeneration? Katz asked. His eyes seemed determined to bore a hole in Michael's head. As of yet, no. But perhaps I can help. My research has focused on the role of macrophages, not only in healing wounds, but also in muscle repair and limb regeneration. I'm confident that together we can find the answers you seek. Smugness emanated from his thin smile and intimidating stare. It was a practiced manner, no doubt, and one that was probably intended to force his target to blink first. Michael was too tired to play the game. He held the biologist's gaze. And finally, the colonel spoke up. You can imagine how surprised we were to learn of the astounding development from Corporal McCabe. You'll understand if I leave two men here to ensure security of your lab. I don't think that'll be necessary, Colonel. Ignoring him, Kilduff stood. I'll leave you to your work, gentlemen, and I trust you'll keep me posted on any developments. Do we have a choice? At the table in the center of his lab, Michael opened the lid of his laptop and turned it toward Katz. These are the notes I've taken so far. The arm's not only pure silver, 'tis also the arm of Nuada. Katz stared in amazement at the artifact lying in a clear acrylic case that Michael had pulled from storage over the weekend. Beg pardon? Nuada was a king of the Tuatha De Danann, the gods who settled here in ancient times and brought humankind to Ireland. Oh, Christ, not you too. You sound like my sister. Mythology's a hobby of hers. Katz's head snapped in his direction. Michael tensed as the other man's eyes narrowed. What you call mythology, others call history. Oh, this fellow's truly off his nut. Fantastic. Okay, fine. So, tell me about Nuada. 4,000 years ago, the king lost part of his arm in battle against a race known as the Firebringer. His physician crafted a prosthetic arm made of pure silver. However, Nuada's injuries forfeited his eligibility to remain their king, and another was crowned. A short time later, the physician's son Miach devised a way to regenerate Nuada's arm. Feigning interest, Michael furrowed his brow. Any idea how he did that? I'm afraid he took his secrets to the grave. Kotz turned a somber gaze back to the artifact. He died rather young. All I know is that Miach altered his father's creation somehow, and within a week, Nuada's arm had fully regenerated, and he reclaimed the throne. The prosthetic was cast aside, lost to history. And you believe this is the arm of Nuada? I know it is. You wouldn't believe the mentaler they sent me, Mealy. Michael adjusted his Bluetooth earpiece as he closed the door to his office and dropped onto the couch. He kept gawking at me when he showed up, and then he was adamant that the artifact is an ancient prosthetic from the time of the Tuatha De Danann. I mentioned that when you were at my house. Yeah, well, this fellow was blathering as if he'd actually been there when it was made 4,000 years ago. 'Tis hard to believe the military would hire such a queer hawk. But he is rather brilliant. We determined that the regeneration is a result of a combination of the natural arm and the artifact. The artifact? Oh, yeah, that's the official term for it now. Our theory is that the substance lining the socket is absorbed into the skin. And when you and Duncan switched to the natural arm, the electrical impulses interacted with the chemical compound and initiated regeneration of skin, bone, muscle, nerves, everything. Can you imagine how this will revolutionize science? Michael, this is phenomenal. What's more, Katz confirmed that the paste contains comfrey, so that was a good guess on your part. But there is something else in it. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to identify the other substance. He theorized that it might be an extinct herb. Possibly. I haven't had a chance to work on that sample yet. Did you bother to research the mythology aspect? Of course not. I don't have time to waste. That's your thing. What, wasting time? No, mythology, you arse biscuit. Well, he's right. As I tried to tell you before, there was a king named Nuada, and his arm was chopped off in battle. His personal physician, Dion Kecht, replaced it with a silver prosthetic, until Kecht's son, Miach, regenerated Nuada's flesh and blood arm. Unfortunately, wait, go back. What was that name? Dion Kecht. This has to be a joke. Michael, are you still there? Yes, please, continue. Oh, suddenly you're intrigued. I was going to say that after Miach healed the king, Kecht was overcome by professional jealousy and murdered his own son. After he was murdered, Miach's sister Irmid cried at his grave. When her tears fell to the loose soil, all the healing herbs known to man grew from Miach's grave. Irmid had also been a healer through the use of natural medicines. Sounds vaguely familiar. I have a sister who plays with plants. And I have a brother who apparently regenerates limbs. Coincidence? At least there's no Dion Kecht around to kill you. I wouldn't be so sure. Michael rubbed his forehead, trying to wrap his mind around the ludicrous events of the past few days. You know, you still haven't asked me the big question. What? About my arm. Oh, God, yes, sorry, what's the latest? It's grown almost 13 centimeters down to my wrist. You cannot be serious. Why didn't you say something earlier? Well, you were too busy babbling on about the eccentric biologist. My forearm is even maintaining the same shape and muscle tone as my left one. I can't believe this is happening. Michael, Maybe there is some truth to his claims. Maybe I really did find the arm of Nuada at an antique show. Who is this biologist? What's his name? You wouldn't believe me if I told you. My freaking arm's growing back. Nothing could surprise me now. His name is Katz. Dion Katz. You cannot be serious. And we'll find out how serious in part 3. See you then.